The rent is guaranteed, right? The government is paying it. At some point, we're going to hit a recession. More traditional, especially lower income rentals, you're going to get hit hard when people start losing jobs. I know that this rent's going to come in every single month, no matter what.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today is Monday. It is our scale show. And on these Monday episodes, we like to do interviews with owner-operators and people that are really in the depths of trying to operate and grow their real estate business. And today we have somebody that is not a Scale community member, but is right along the same lines of the typical member that we have over there. Josh Bauerle out of Columbus, Ohio. You are a real estate investor, flipper, wholesaler. You do buy and holds. You got introduced to me through Shelby Johnson and her team that she runs over there in, I guess, Lexington, Kentucky, but she has her national conglomerate that she's growing. But yeah, anyone that Shelby usually recommends is it's always a good fit for the show, dude. So super excited to have you on and hear more about what you are doing over there in Columbus. So to get things kickstarted, why don't you give me a quick 3-minute rundown, who exactly you are, kind of what your business looks like overall, and what your primary role is in your business.
Yeah, I'm out of Columbus, Ohio. I'm actually a CPA as well. Had a tax practice, built it up, sold it, started a new one, built it up and sold it. And then went all in. So
you sold out twice? You
sold out twice.
Oh, nice.
And
cool.
Went all in real estate. And now we're up to 29 rentals. Or will be when we close on our ones that we have under contract. We flip anywhere from 3 to 7 a year, and then throw out a few wholesales a year.
Sweet. That's awesome. And so with those holds that you have, mostly like single families, we're looking at small multis.
Yeah. So out of those 29 units, it'll be 24 properties. So one
nice.
5-plex and a couple duplexes.
Yeah. A couple duplexes. You got a bunch of single families over there in Columbus. Are they, I guess they all in Columbus, or are you sort of branched out?
All in the Columbus area. So we actually, we started building it in 2017 in my hometown, just a tiny little rural town in Ohio.
Okay.
Built it up to 28 units, sold all but 3 of them, moved to Columbus, and now we're building it back up and we're up to 29.
Nice. So you've sold 2 businesses and an entire portfolio over the course of not an incredibly long time. How long have you been in business for?
Yeah, real estate, 2017. We bought our first property in 2017.
Okay, so you've done these 3 like big exits. Why don't you just stick with something, dude?
I know it's weird. I like the building. I like to build it up, and then I kind of get bored and move on to the next thing.
Then you cash out and move on. That's all right. And so with this the setup that you have, do you still do any CPA work at all? Or are you 100% on real estate now?
So actually the first business I sold, he came back to me recently. He's having me do a little bit of sales work for him. Okay. That's the part I liked, was just getting on talking to people.
Nice.
And then I just, the beneficial ownership interest, have you come across that you have to fill out this year? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I created a little side thing, helping people fill those out. But other than that, not much tax work.
There you go. You charge them like $100 and you like do
a couple $100 and get it done. Yep.
Tell you what, dude, if you find like business owners like myself, I understand fully that I could do that in like not a lot of time, but I am more than happy to pay someone to do it because I don't want to figure that shit out. It's such a pain in the ass. There's always little details. Sure. Yeah. So I have my registered agent that I went and did all that stuff for me. And I was like, nice. No brainer, just charge my credit card. I don't want to get fined. I don't have to think about it.
Exactly.
Nice, man. That's a good little hustle. Cool. So I guess like in your team, let's do this first. Is it only you? Do you have any team members at all? Do you have like your spouse get involved, partner?
Yeah. So my wife's involved. She handles a lot of the behind the scenes paperwork stuff. She always jokes she doesn't want to see the property as well. So we'd never buy a property.
Yeah.
Cause she'd get scared off by them. She's definitely more risk averse than me. But after that, it's like I have an electrician that I use every time. I have a flooring guy I use every time.
Oh, nice.
I have our people that we call. But even as far as managing the properties, we're even doing all that ourselves.
Oh, cool. So you're just a nice lean ship, and taking home a lot of that. That's awesome. So how are you currently sourcing everything?
Yeah. So we actually have a franchise with Homevestors.
Okay.
And they do advertising, and we were doing that. We were doing about $10,000 a month with them for a while. But for the past year, I wasn't getting as big a return on that. So we kind of went into doing our own, and we got some great deals with Homevestors. They have some great options out there with the advertising they do. But we started just looking for our own and felt like we were getting a better return. For the past year, we're mostly just going to wholesalers posting on my own social media what we're doing. We've gotten a couple crazy deals just by telling people what we do, and then they reach out like, hey, my mom went into long-term care, I just need someone to buy her house. So that kind of stuff. But yeah, just all natural word of mouth type stuff.
Yeah, the home investors thing is so interesting to me because they've been around so long, right? And I mean, so I don't know if you know the history of their company, but they've like retraded to private equity, I think 3 times.
Yeah.
And they're so far removed from like what originally founded that business. And I know quite a few home investors guys through, Go Abundance Group that I'm involved in. We actually have a few in my scale community that we run, so our off-market investor community. And they all kind of have the same story of where they're spending a lot of money, like $10,000 a month. And the metrics that they get on their marketing and their KPIs are always so much worse than just running it on your own. And I feel like with buying a franchise, you're paying that franchise fee and you're paying them residuals so that it should be better, right? Like I don't understand like why that seems to be the recurring theme.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, there's people that do very, very well with the advertising, and I bought some incredible deals with the advertising. So I don't have any complaints or regrets about it. For me, it did come to a point that they stopped being as quality for a while, and I just started getting some really quality leads on my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a mixed bag. Some people do really, really well with it, and some people they're better off finding it on their own.
I talked to a guy up in the Northeast. He was a newer home investors guy. He told me that his cost per deal was like 60 grand.
Wow.
Right. And
Yeah.
like, that's ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, but I make like 110, 150K. I'm like, yeah, but it's telling you $60,000 to get a deal, dude. My cost per deal is like 4 grand. Like
Yeah.
why? Like that's not even like in the ballpark.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's 60 grand is really,
really high. Yeah, right. So that's not standard. Well, in your market, you'd be completely fucked if that was your standard.
Right? I
Right?
mean, you'd lose money on every deal. Yeah.
Yeah, because your houses aren't $1.5 million houses out of so.
Right.
So when you start doing that yourself, is it all like direct mail? You guys just doing like original, like sort of standard wholesale marketing stuff, or do you have like a super secret strategy that you find works?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a super secret strategy. We're just literally posting about what we do, weeding through the million different wholesalers that are out there sending deals out. And I mean, Columbus market, I don't know if you know much about the Columbus, Ohio market, but it's super competitive right now.
Mm-hmm.
Intel's coming here. Intel's doing a $20 billion project here. We're getting Google, we're getting Amazon. So like they're calling us the Silicon Valley of the Midwest. So it's crazy. And there's a million investors and competition's wild. Yeah. So we just got to get creative to fund deals, and we're just trying to find ones that people are overlooking, like, oh, this is a 2-bed, but let's go in the basement and put an egress window, make it a 3-bed, and now this works as a deal.
Yeah, for sure. Silicon Valley of the Midwest. That's funny. I feel like every like Midwest town has like some company that's moved there over the last 5 years, and like they're now the new place. Right. I talked to so many people through Ohio, like Michigan, a number of years ago, Madison, Wisconsin was like, the Bend, Oregon of the Midwest. Everyone's moving there for like the young culture and whatever. I mean, I think we just acknowledge that there's places that are pretty cool that you've never been and you don't live, and that's okay. We don't always need to try and like tell everyone or have some weird justification because the fact that some random companies moving there. So it sounds like it's mostly network based. Do you do any direct to seller stuff outside of the home investors things, or?
Nope, not right now.
Not right now. Awesome. Yeah. Are you planning to? Like, I mean, if you have any ambitions to grow, dude, I can tell you without a doubt, it's the easiest way to get the best deal.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even just with advertising with home investors, I saw it firsthand. Like that's the way to go. So yeah, I do think someday we'll start advertising like that again. But right now we're growing at a level we're comfortable with, just not doing it.
Well, my only ask is that if you do that, don't work with the highs who are right in your home market there, because they're the direct competition with what we do. So you can you and me can talk before you do that. We'll teach you better. But awesome. So walk me through your deals per month again. You said you're doing how many flips, how many wholesales, and how many?
Yeah. So per year, this year we really started going hard on building our portfolio up this year. We have done, after these ones close that we have under contract, we'll have done 19 this year. 19 units, nice. Which would be 15 properties.
Nice.
And we flipped 5. We'll probably flip one more by the end of the year. And we've wholesaled a couple of them that we've had come through.
Awesome. So about a deal a month on average.
One
And
to two a month. Yeah, that's what we're
yeah,
looking at.
you just funding everything with hard money, or do you have private
Yep,
investors?
hard money. We have a lender that'll do 100% of purchase and 100% of rehab, as
No
long as we
shit.
keep it under 75% of the ARV minus repairs. So
Is that like a national lender or a local one?
it is, yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of experience before they'll go to that level with you. But residential capital,
Yeah.
um,
Okay. Yeah.
yep, they're really good. That's my biggest goal. I don't want to put any cash into any deal, so I get
Yeah.
it at a price that I don't have to put any upfront cash, and I know I can refi and pull everything out to pay off the lender and still not put any cash in.
Nice. You said they're called residential. I have to look at that because we've used like Kiavi and a lot of the big ones in the
I've
past.
used Kiavi, yeah, they're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But now, honestly, I've been done well enough. We have our own money and we just buy everything
Right.
cash.
That's,
Right.
yeah. Once you get to that point, it's gold.
Yeah. It saves. It's amazing how much tighter you can buy your deals when you don't have to account for like $20,000 in just like financing costs on every single one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
But
I'd buy significantly more if I cut that expense out.
yeah, nice. Cool. So the funding lined up there, and then the actual pipeline that you have, you're all coming from the your referral stuff. So what does the entire process look like for you to, I guess, balance all of that as like a sole operator? Because it sounds like you have active rehabs going on,
Yeah.
network marketing and getting those deals that way is pretty time intensive. And like in maintaining those relationships, you have to manage these closings. You're doing all your property management. How do you do all that? What is your current like day to day? What systems do you have in place?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's getting the right team. Not necessarily we don't have employees or even contractors that are on demand, but we have the right team where I know as soon as something comes in exactly who I'm calling and what it's going to be.
Sure.
Some of the higher end like flips that we're doing, I use an actual GC on those, and I just don't touch them until they're done, and then I go look at them. The smaller stuff on the rentals, I have the whole team in place. I know when my flooring guys go in, when my painting guys go in, when the electrician goes in. So it's just kind of having that dialed in from beginning to end. And on the property management side, I mean, I think people overestimate how time consuming property management is, because people tell me all the time, like, I don't know how you have time to manage all those properties. I spend probably less than 5 hours a week on that stuff.
Yeah.
With the exception when I have a lot of empty ones at a time.
Yeah, when things go well, for sure. It's when things get weird that it gets time intensive. So we self-managed our portfolio up until about 58 units. And it was to the point where there was something every week, right? It was like constant. And where it gets challenging is when we're also doing a high transaction business at that point. You know, we were doing a few deals a week. We constantly had 10 to 15 in escrow, and balancing those things. It's like, what are your priorities? It's like, I need to like fix the sink that's clogged, that I need to like order and like do this, pay the invoice, you know, get the schedules all lined up, or I can go make this $15,000 wholesale fee. And very quickly, it's like, I just don't want to deal with the sink anymore. Right. And that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah,
but
and there will come a point when we hire we had management for a while. The property managers that we had sold, and the new company sucks. We just took it over.
Nice.
And there will come a point where we'll have to hire somebody again, but for now it works.
Yeah, there we go. Nice. So, I mean, it's pretty standard. So I guess your day to day then, well, you just like chilling most of the day. You like just go like.
I play a lot of pickleball.
Pickleball
Training for marathons. I'm doing some running.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's some days I'm driving around to 10 different properties, and some days I have nothing on my calendar.
Awesome. Well, there you go. I mean, you're living it then. So I guess what do your basic numbers look like? Like, are you open to share that? Like, what's your annual revenue? What's your cash flows? All those sort of things.
Yeah. So as far as on the flip side, I would say we've done 5 so far this year. Probably at about 1.2 gross. On those 5.
1.2 gross across the flips. You're talking about the sale price of the properties.
Sale price of the property, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I want to know what you actually make. What are you taking home?
Well, netting. Okay, yeah. So I mean, we've had some expensive rehabs this year. It would probably say about 175 on those.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's pretty good. Yeah, I can tell you have a realtor background with Shelby, because telling me the price of what you sold the properties for. I mean, I can sell $1 million worth of real estate of flips and lose my ass, right? I bought them for $2 million.
And no, as a CPA, I know better than that. I know the net's what matters. But usually when you're on these, the gross is what people are asking for. So I like it. I like that you're going into the real numbers.
Yeah, well, I'm not an agent. I'm a wholesaler. So $1.75 so far. That's pretty solid, especially for the Midwest. And then what was your cash flow look like off your rentals? You've been buying through these like higher interest rate times too, right? And so
Yeah.
assuming you're
Yeah. So
refinancing into 8%, 8.5.
yeah, I mean, we're finally getting back into the sixes on these last few refinances we've done.
Nice.
But that's where we did have to get creative to get these a cash flow, right? That's managing ourselves. I cut out 10%. We're going all in on Section 8 right now.
Oh,
That
interesting.
makes the rent that we're collecting significantly higher, plus your vacancy significantly lower because they stay forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we're getting creative. We on our current, so we have 9 under contract. So the 20 that we currently have, we're bringing in 21,000 a month in rent, and our cash flow on that's just under 5,000.
Nice. That's pretty good though. And
Yeah.
so how many of those are Section 8?
So we just started going all in on that. Right now we have 7 Section 8 properties.
Okay. Yeah, let's dive into that. That's a good topic because that's something that, I don't hear about that being done, I don't say ethically, right? Like the only Section 8 stuff that we hear is just the state of the freaking internet, right? Is there's that guy that goes around that talks about how he like leases like ceiling fans to people, and if they go and they buy their own ceiling fan from Target, he like rips them. Have you seen this clown on Instagram?
No.
I don't even know his name. He's obviously like a scammer, and a lot of people have called him out, but he's always like in like a mansion and he has like his Ferrari, like just the most like stereotypical Instagram bullshit ever. And his whole thing is he does Section 8 because he's like, they're too poor to move and the government basically pays your rent. But then he like leases them like screen doors and fans and like, like the most like basic necessities. Right. And if they go and they like buy their own and they install it, he'll like send his freaking hitman or whatever to go in and like rip it out so they can't have their fan. And then he brags about how he buys a $15 fan at Target and then leases it to them for $20 a month. Like total dirtbag shit. Right. So that's what the world currently thinks about with Section 8. So tell me how you do with this better, I hope, anyway.
Yeah, no, I mean, it gets a bad name all the way around. Like people don't want to deal with the tenants. People think you're a slumlord if you do it. So there's a couple of reasons why I do it. Number one, it is significantly higher rent, at least in my area. So every housing authority is different, but here it goes by the county and they strictly look at the number of bedrooms. So there's obviously parts of the county that are very high rent, parts that are very low rent, and they average it out. So in those lower rent areas, I'm getting significantly higher than market value, like sometimes 400 or 500 more than market rent would be. So that's the biggest reason we do it. But also the tenants do tend to stay forever. And I certainly wouldn't describe it like that guy did. They're too poor to move. I think it's more people don't want to do Section 8. So it's hard to find Section 8 properties.
It is.
So when they find one, they don't want to move.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the rent is guaranteed, right? The government is paying it. So if we hit a recession, obviously at some point we're going to hit a recession. More traditional, especially lower income rentals, you're gonna get hit hard when people start losing jobs. I know that this rent's going to come in every single month, no matter what.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that Section 8 almost acts like an assistant property manager for you, right? Like they're on the tenant with you. And if the tenant's not doing what they're supposed to, not only can they get evicted, they're going to lose their Section 8. And for them, that's their life, right? Like they're not going to trash your property, get evicted, and lose Section 8 for the most part. Totally. So I'm not saying like you're not hanging this over their head, like threaten them every little thing they do. I'm going to go tell Section 8 on you. But if someone's not treating your property right or not paying their small portion that they have to pay, that is something that's hanging over their head that I better get this done or I'm going to lose my Section 8. So I think we get much better quality tenants for these areas.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I know Ohio tends to be a swing state. Is Columbus more like on the blue or red side?
So I would say Ohio no longer is a swing state. We've gone pretty red. Columbus is, I would say, leans more blue. The Columbus itself, and then the suburbs are kind of in between.
Okay, because that's always something that's interesting is hearing how the Section 8 process works across political lines, right? And so up here in Washington, we have one property, the Section 8. It's a little 6-unit like apartment complex. And I mean, it's great when you get it set up, but there's definitely hoops that you have to jump through. And there's like, they're pretty strict on inspections and everything like that, which is fine if you're not a dirtbag trying to do weird stuff. But the thing that's really tricky is they have absolutely tried to crack down on people trying to like take advantage of the situation, because essentially they have like a window in time where you can request a rent increase every year, and you can only do it once a year. And if you're outside the window, you got to wait until the next window. And so what can happen is like you buy a property and they're like, oh, well, the rent increase window was last week. You got to wait an entire year before you can request rent increases again, even though you just bought the home. And so there's like these little things that come around that are kind of funny. But overall, I mean, it's been great. Although the only time it's been a real pain in the ass, we had a tenant die,
Oh wow.
like in the property, and the rules around how we have to handle that, with it being a Section 8 person versus inner tenant, were a lot trickier.
Interesting.
We had a whole thing that we had to do where we had to basically keep all of their stuff in like a storage unit. We had to give like the next of kin the ability to like take over the rent versus finding like a new one in case they had like a kid that was also on a hard
Mm,
time, or a spouse or something. And ultimately what it led to is we had like a vacancy for like 4 months, which sucked because of all
yeah.
the paperwork that we had to do. But outside of that, that's the only real hiccup that we faced.
Yeah, I have not dealt with a tenant that died yet. That
Yeah.
does not sound fun. But I mean, you're absolutely right. The front end of Section 8 is a gigantic pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It can be very time consuming, especially
Mm-hmm.
like our housing authority sucks. They just got fired. They're going to not be renewed
Nice.
next year. So they're getting
Yeah.
different management in place.
Sure.
But like you can literally be waiting 2 months sometimes now to get everything approved.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We've
but
had
once you're
that
done,
too.
it's smooth sailing.
Yeah. When people like apply for it and for them to get approved and like to do all the stuff,
Yep,
like the reward you have for going with that is, like you said, that the fact they will probably be occupied for a very long time, but the trade-off is you will probably be facing a slightly extended vacancy if you have one when it does come up.
for sure. And you're gonna have to be more hands on. Like
Yeah.
if I had a property manager, I don't know that I would do it because I don't know that I would trust them to jump through all the hoops that need to be jumped through to get it.
Yeah, you find a better. I mean, if you find a good property manager, like
Sure.
also
Yeah, yeah,
our
yeah.
property
But
manager here is actually pretty good at it. I mean, it's like every other property manager. The property manager we have here that's good is like the sixth one we've had. So
yeah.
we've hired and fired a lot in a very short period of
Yep.
time. Um,
Yep.
so well, that's awesome, man. So I guess as you're building that out, you're accumulating doors. Kind of what's your like goals over the next, I don't know, couple years? Interest rates come in more favorable. You've already sold out everything 3 times. You gonna do it again and then start over from scratch just for fun?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I envision selling everything again, but I mean, I certainly think when an opportunity arises and I'm like, this property has too much equity in it, I don't want to do a cash out refi. It's time to sell this property. That I
Yeah,
certainly think that'll come up, and that's what I
yeah,
like about accumulating rentals, right? Like they can up front, they're slow wealth builders, but they can also become income in the future, right? Like if you have
mhm,
this 40 property portfolio. And hey, I need to make a little bit of extra money this year. I'm going to sell 2 properties. You can bring in $300,000 for that year by just selling 2 properties you already have, right? So it can kind of be a
totally.
combination.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and also too, for a lot of people, it probably does make sense to take some chips off the table every once in a while.
Right.
Because the market can go down. You can have large expenses that happen. Your return on equity does start to diminish after a while as the property becomes, appreciates more and the debt pays down and everything else. And I don't know, some people are like, I hold on to everything forever. My sort of general view has been, if you're a serious like financial person or a business owner, you need to be analyzing the potential liquidity options that you have to make the most out of your money. Otherwise, you're just not going to, be able to have as much flexibility as you probably want.
For sure.
Um,
And some people say like, oh, just cash out refi, don't sell it. But sometimes things appreciate faster than rent appreciates, right? So
yeah,
you have this $800,000 house that you can only collect $2,000 a month rent on. So even if you did a cash out refi, you're not going to cash flow. They're not going to let you do the cash out refi in most cases.
yeah.
So it just makes more sense to sell in that situation.
You just described the Northwest, man. I have a triplex that I bought for just over 300 grand back in 2019 that I could probably sell for 800 now.
God,
And it's just like, I have so much equity in this freaking thing, and it cash flows, $1,800 a month. That's cool. But I could also just have $500,000,
right.
right? Like, why? Like, I don't care about the cash flow when I'm looking at that.
Right, 100%.
So,
And I think that's where we're heading in Columbus. We're starting to see
yeah.
that rapidly appreciating properties, and the rent increase is going to slow at some point. So it's going to get out of whack.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool, man. Well, now you got it figured out though. You got a good little lean ship. You get to play pickleball all the time. You're making some money. You're accumulating some properties. What do you think is like your biggest challenge in your business that you face right now? That sort of is something that you constantly are trying to get over and figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me the biggest challenge is I need to figure out what that first hire is going to be. Eventually, we're going to have to bring on a team,
Mm-hmm.
and where is that going to be? Where's the best use of resources there?
Sure.
And then figuring out how we want to go about eventually bringing in those leads, whether it's advertising or how we want to go direct to seller again at some point.
Yeah, there's so many different ways you can approach it, right? And anyone that tells you they have the exact way that's perfect for you is they don't know you, and so they're full of shit. Like, you need to look at the whole view.
Right.
But awesome, dude. You'll be able to figure it out though. You're smart. Sweet, man. Well, appreciate all the info that you provided. And congrats on your success, dude. It's awesome that you found like a good little niche and you're just cruising, dude. You're living the dream. Right on, man. We're gonna dive into our end of show questions here. First one is always the crowd favorite, but what is your craziest real estate story? And this can be a win, a loss, crazy tenant, crazy deal. The time that you opened a door and there was a water buffalo in the living room, like whatever you got, man.
Yeah, I mean, I went through lots of options trying to narrow this down. We've had endless crazy stories, but everyone likes a good ghost story, right? So I got an actual ghost story with the property.
Oh, nice.
We had a triplex, and I first get a call from the tenant downstairs. There was an upstairs, a downstairs, and a back unit. And the downstairs person calls me. He's like, "Hey, did you move someone into the basement?" It's just this old stone basement. I'm like, no, no one moved in there. Like, well, is there a door that has access to it? I'm like, no, there's only through your property. That's the only way in there. She said, well, I hear somebody down there. They're talking, and I feel like they're talking to me. They're calling my name, and I just think this girl's crazy. She might have been crazy anyways. So I kind of ignored it. And then she moved out, and the furnace went out, and I had my contractor go there. And this was like rural Ohio, hillbilly, no nonsense contractor. And he goes there to replace a furnace, and he calls me after. He's like, "Don't ever send me to that property again." I'm like, well, hi, what's the problem? Like, the entire time I was down in that basement replacing the furnace, I could feel like someone standing behind me, breathing on me. And at one point, my lamp just fell off the shelf I had it on for no reason. So it's like 2 for 2. This guy, never in a million years would I think he's telling me a ghost story, right? And then the third final straw was the girl upstairs. A new girl moved in upstairs, and she called me. He's like, "Hey, I'm Catholic. Do you mind if I have my priest come bless this place? Because I keep hearing someone walking around in my apartment, and I can feel their presence here."
Dude, that's fucked. You're like making me like have like hairs in the back of my neck. I don't like
that. So this was about as wild as it gets for me.
Do you still
I even looked
it?
up, like, has there ever been a death in the property? I couldn't find anything online, but yeah, it was pretty wild.
Do you still own it? Or did you sell it?
That was one of the ones I sold, and then it actually, I never thought about this until now, but it burnt down shortly after we bought it. So
no way.
Yeah, so maybe the presence got irritated.
Legit question. Do you have to disclose in the realtor forms that it might be haunted?
No, in Ohio, you do not have to disclose that.
Do you have to in some states?
I've heard you do in some states, yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's such how do you know the person's lying or not, I don't know. It's weird.
In like Louisiana, where like everything's haunted, like I feel like that's where they have lots of spirit stuff. But that's crazy. Yeah, I would sell that property and never go there again. Yeah, I would not roll with that at all. That's a good one though, especially when the contractor gets weird, because contractors are usually such hard asses about random stuff.
That's how this guy is. You'd never in a million years think this guy's gonna call and tell you a ghost story. So that one flipped me out a little bit.
Yeah, that's funny. Awesome. All right, number 2, if you could go back to the very beginning, what's one thing that you would do differently?
I mean, buy more. I think that's everyone's standard answer, right?
Yeah, but like something in your business though, right? Because everyone can say that, but no one's got a crystal ball.
Yeah. I mean, if I could go back, I would learn buying off market sooner. When I first started, I was buying on market for all my properties, and I haven't bought on market in 4 years. So that would definitely be learning that is possible to buy something that's not on the MLS.
It's the biggest wealth generation hack that is out there. Honestly, if you buy a $300,000 property for $200,000, congratulations, you just added $100,000 to your net worth. It's literally that simple, and people do it 100%. Every single day. Awesome, good one. All right, Josh, and then where can people find you, follow you, and reach out to you?
Yeah, Instagram. That's where we post most of our real estate stuff we're doing. Just at Josh Bauerle. That's the best place to find us.
Cool. And then Bauerle is Bauerle for anybody listening.
Yep.
So awesome. All right, Josh. Well, dude, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And you guys, if you're out in the Columbus area, Josh is looking to buy more shit. So go and hit him up on Instagram, send him your deals. And it sounds like he's willing to make some pretty competitive offers, and he is trying to commit a portfolio out there. So take advantage of that. Aside that, everybody, appreciate you listening. Share this with anyone that might find it interesting, and see you guys next week.